Something strange was growing in my garden, so I fed it to the others. The soil in my garden is my own creation. For 20 years, I've cultivated it, nurtured it, bled into it. It's a perfect, loamy black, a stark and beautiful contrast to the blood red of my black Baccara roses. They are my life's work, my sanctuary. My entire world is contained within the old stone walls that border my property, a world of meticulous order, of predictable life and graceful decay. Out there, beyond the walls, is the chaos, the screaming, breeding, messy world of humanity. In here, there is only peace. That peace was shattered on a Tuesday. It began subtly, a flaw in the otherwise flawless tapestry of my rose beds. A patch of earth, no bigger than my fist, was disturbed. It was mounded, but not in the way a mole would leave it. The soil was packed tight, convex, like a healing wound on the surface of the ground. I knelt, my old knees cracking in protest. The air was thick with the cloying perfume of roses in full bloom, but beneath it there was something else. A faint, coppery tang. Something metallic and organic. Voles, I muttered, my trowel hovering over the strange little mound. Or a damned neighborhood cat. My roses are my children. They are demanding, fragile, and exquisitely beautiful. They do not tolerate intruders. Neither do I. I pressed the tip of the trowel into the edge of the mound. The soil didn't give way with the soft crumble I expected. It was dense, springy, and strangely warm to the touch. A low, wet squelch echoed in the quiet garden. I froze, my hand still on the handle. It wasn't soil, not entirely. I scraped away a layer of black dirt, and what was underneath made the breath catch in my throat. It was flesh. A pale, vein-mapped patch of it, pulsing with a slow, weak rhythm. It looked like some grotesque, forgotten tuber, a thing that had no business growing under the sun. My first instinct was revulsion. A fungal growth, perhaps. A blight of some unknown, horrific variety. I had to excise it, for the good of the garden. On my hands and knees I began to dig, not with the trowel, but with my bare fingers. The gardener in me took over, a surgeon tending to a wound. I worked with a frantic delicacy, my fingernails caked with the dark, damp earth, scraping it away from the edges of the thing. The mound was larger than I'd thought. As I cleared more soil, a shape began to emerge. A curved ridge that became a shoulder, a tiny, folded limb. And then, peeking out from the grime, was the shell-like swirl of a perfect miniature ear. A guttural sound escaped my lips, a noise of pure, undiluted rage. No, not here. This was my sanctuary. My sterile, beautiful, controlled world. And this thing had trespassed. It had rooted itself in my sacred ground. My gentle scraping became a frantic clawing. I had to get it out. I dug and pulled, my movements precise yet violent. The soft earth gave way, revealing more and more of the impossible form. A small, round head, slick with soil and amniotic fluid. A back, spine nubbled like a string of pearls beneath the thin skin. There was a child. A newborn boy, curled in the fetal position as if the earth itself were his womb. In my haste, my thumbnail caught the delicate skin just behind his ear. A tiny bead of blood welled up. The reaction was instantaneous. A shriek tore through the placid afternoon air, an ear-splitting, impossibly loud wail for such a small creature. It wasn't the cry of a baby in pain. It was a sound of pure, conscious indignation. The birds in the old oak tree fell silent. The entire garden seemed to hold its breath. My head throbbed. Oh, for the love of all that is holy. Be quiet, I hissed, my voice a venomous whisper. I reached down, my hand surprisingly steady, and scooped the boy from his earthen cradle. He was heavier than he looked, dense and solid. I slung him over my shoulder like a sack of fertilizer. The crying subsided into a series of wet, gulping sobs. I don't understand this, I said, patting his back with a hard, rhythmic thump. The perimeter is secure. The walls are 12 feet high. The child aside is supposed to be foolproof. I looked around at my perfect roses, their crimson heads nodding in the slight breeze. They seemed to mock me. How did you get in here? A voice, clear and articulate and utterly out of place, spoke from behind my ear. It was small but resonant, with the dry, rasping quality of an old man. The seeds of life are opportunistic, sir. They find the most fertile ground. Your garden, it is a place of profound vitality, of exquisite decay. The all-seeing eye took notice. It saw the love you pour into this soil, the life you foster, and the death you cultivate. It decided this would be a fitting place for a new vessel. I stopped dead in the center of the lawn. The world tilted slightly on its axis. I slowly, deliberately, took the child from my shoulder and held him up in front of my face. His eyes were open. They weren't the milky, unfocused blue of a newborn. They were the color of ancient moss, intelligent and old, and they stared directly into mine. What did you say? The wilting petals you allow to litter the ground, the infant continued, his tiny mouth barely moving. You believe them to be waste. How foolish. They are sustenance. They feed the soil that feeds the bud that becomes the bloom. As one life ends, another is nourished. Is that not the way of all things, sir? A beautiful, brutal, and necessary cycle. I stood there, speechless, my mind a maelstrom of confusion and fury. Annoyance was a distant memory. This was a violation on a cosmic scale. I need to have a word with that clerk, I finally managed, my voice a low growl. The memory surfaced of the odd little man in the dusty, forgotten shop on the edge of town, the one who sold me the canister of child. Aside pellets. He had a milky eye and a smile full of too many teeth. Guaranteed effective, he'd said. Stops any unwanted plantings before they can take root. The liar. Life is a beautiful thing, is it not? The boy mused, dangling from my grip. He seemed entirely unconcerned by his precarious position. And since you are the one who has, well, harvested me, certain responsibilities do fall to you. A question, if I may, I grunted, a sound that could have meant anything. What, precisely, do you intend to do with me? I am, as you can see, quite helpless. I will require sustenance. Milk, I suppose, for the time being. And clothing is a necessity. It is rather brisk out here. And beyond this magnificent garden, I couldn't help but notice that rather lovely home. Surely there's a spare room? My eye began to twitch. The audacity of it. The sheer parasitic entitlement. It was everything I hated about the world beyond my walls, concentrated into this tiny, soil-streaked package. Mary, Mother of God, I sighed, rolling my eyes to the heavens. Here we go again. I threw him back over my shoulder. He started rambling again as I began the long walk toward the back of the property, past the compost heaps and the potting shed. Is there a woman in your life? He chattered, his ancient voice a bizarre counterpoint to his infantile form. A matriarchal figure is often crucial for proper development. Imagine. He let out a dry, rattling laugh. You all alone with me? A bachelor and a babe. Oh no, that simply wouldn't do. We'd be the talk of the town. They really need to put a warning label on that child. I thought, my boots crunching on the gravel path, may result in articulate, demanding abominations. Up ahead I could see the tall, wood-slatted enclosure I'd built years ago. I'd called it the playpen, back when I still had a sense of humor about this whole mess. Now it was just the pen. Oh, and toys, the thing on my shoulder chirped. We mustn't forget toys. But none of those dreadful educational gadgets, please. Simple blocks will suffice. And a rattle. I think I'd quite like a rattle. We reached the gate of the pen. It was a sturdy 10-foot-high fence of solid oak, reinforced with iron. A heavy padlock secured the door. From within came a low, hungry sound, a collective, wet shuffling. "All right, down you go," I said, my voice devoid of any emotion. I unlocked the gate and swung it open just wide enough to drop him inside. He landed on his feet with an unnatural agility, his mossy eyes blinking in the dim light of the enclosure. He looked around, his precocious confidence finally faltering. He was not alone. Around him, staring from the shadows, were others. 27 of them. His brothers and sisters, if you could call them that. Some were small, like him. Others were larger, their limbs elongated and strange, their skin pale from the lack of sun. They didn't look at him with curiosity. They stared at him with a singular, unified thought, hunger. Their eyes, all of them, were empty. Not old and wise like his, but vacant. Feral. My earlier failed experiments. The ones that didn't talk. The new one's head snapped back toward me, his face a mask of dawning horror. "Sir, I do believe there has been a mistake." I began to swing the heavy gate closed. "No," I said, my voice as cold and hard as the iron lock in my hand. "No mistake." The lock clicked shut. "You can't leave me in here," he pleaded, his voice cracking, losing its scholarly tone and becoming the terrified cry of a child. He scrambled toward the gate, his tiny hands pressing against the solid wood. "This is inhuman. Please." The others began to close in. They moved with a slow, shambling gait, a tide of pale flesh and hollow eyes. A low, guttural moaning started, a chorus of pure animal need. The boy pressed his face to a gap in the slats, his ancient moss-green eyes wide with a terror that was utterly real. "Please, sir, I can be of use. I am intelligent. I can help you with the garden." I knelt down, my face close to the gap, looking deep into his desperate eyes. I saw the raw, primal fear churning there. "You see, kid," I began, my voice a quiet, reasonable whisper, "you were right. The seeds of life find a way, and the wilting petals provide the sustenance. You are the petal, see? You are the sustenance needed to provide for your hungry, silent brothers and sisters." I thought again of the clerk with the milky eye. I had explained my predicament to him. I told him I couldn't afford another one, that they were ruining the soil balance, that my system was becoming unsustainable. He just smiled that wide, toothy smile and sold me the canister. Divine intervention, he'd called it. A cosmic rebalancing. A dry, harsh laugh escaped my lips. I couldn't help it. The all-seeing eye must have seen how hungry my little crop had become. And now, here was this perfect, articulate, terrified little meal. A tithe to the monstrous ecosystem I had created. "You are providing for these beautiful, blossoming failures," I said, my smile feeling wide and tight on my face. "And for that, young one, I thank you." His gaze was shattering. The intelligence, the hope, the spark of ancient life, it all just broke. It was replaced by a void of utter, abject hopelessness. He knew. "Well, if that's all," I said, standing up and brushing the dirt from my knees, "I really must be getting back to my roses." I turned my back on the pen and walked away. The sounds began almost immediately. His pleas turned into high-pitched, piercing screams. The screams were soon joined by the wet, tearing sounds of flesh and the sharp, sickening cracks of small bones snapping. The chorus of low moans morphed into a frenzy of guttural, ecstatic feeding. I did not look back. I walked toward my garden, the sounds of the pen fading behind me, replaced by the gentle rustle of leaves and the buzzing of bees. A sense of order, of balance, was restored. The intruder had been excised. The system was working. I knelt before my black baccaras, their petals the color of dried blood. I inhaled their rich, heady scent. Peace settled over me like a warm blanket. And then I saw it. Just a few feet away, near the base of my prize-winning rosebush, a small mound of freshly disturbed earth. pulsing ever so slightly.